It is absolutely outstanding to be back in Cleveland. I grew up 20 minutes outside of Cleveland on the west side in Lorain County. And in fact, last night, I walked over across the street to East 4th, and I noticed that not only did the Cleveland Clothing Company have 216 t-shirts, but they had the 440. So I was thrilled to be able to pick up one of both. There's some amazing things going on here in Cleveland, and I see that, and I appreciate all the hard work that family and friends and others here in the city are doing. Because this is personal for me, being back here. And to the extent that I could share that my father was born in Cleveland, my grandmother, my great-grandfather started a Hungarian restaurant here after he emigrated from Hungary. And the stories and the memories and the things that flash back when I come back to Cleveland are really important and foundational to the work that I'm going to walk through today with you in terms of how to inspire and establish these programs out of a mayor's office, the ones that could be deemed innovative, but really it's about getting shit done. This is a photo of my grandfather. Not sure exactly the year. I apologize for that. After returning from the Army, he met my grandmother. They lived in Lorain, Ohio. He moved the Cleveland girl to Lorain. And he commuted to Cleveland John Marshall Law School during the evenings to earn a law degree and went on to practice law for almost 50 years. This is another memory that I have of Cleveland, so thank you for indulging me. It's the skyline. I remember it vividly from coming in to downtown to see a sporting event with my father many times when it was the Gund Arena and when it was also the couple of the World Series years in the early 90s. This corned beef sandwich, typically stopping at Quirky and Lenny's before heading to games at the old Municipal Stadium, which is where I really fell in love with baseball. But most of all, and the things that I'm most excited about learning, and which I think are the foundation for all the work that I've been able to participate in and lead in cities, is really the grit factor. And we know a lot about this. There's a lot of conversation about this, not just LeBron James talk about it and about the work that the Cavs have done over the years, but it's really about the attitude, by any means, that we need to get things done, we get it done. Keeping your head down, being focused, where there are haters or others that say, we can't do this, try it again. Work harder, put in more work, find people, leverage the resources, the insights, and the subject matter experts that you have access to in and around you, whatever city you live and you work. And some of you may be familiar with Angela Duckworth's book, Grit, and I think about this all the time. Knowingly or unknowingly, the teams that I've worked with practice, walk the walk, do what you do, show versus tell. At the end of the day, putting in the work to get something launched in a city where the default in government is typically risk aversion and a default to no. So all of this around grit really is what I want you to understand as a key takeaway, is while I walk through a couple of tactical things that I think are important to apply in any of the initiatives that you're working on, this is really about the grit and putting in the time and the effort for years, not just a day, not just a week, not just a month. In 2012, my wife and I moved to San Francisco, and I was selected as a Fuse Corps Fellow. I think you'll be hearing about that in a little bit. The goal of the program at the time, as part of the first cohort, was to engage mid-career professionals at an advisory level to come in and work with mayors. My role was in the mayor's office in San Jose with Mayor Chuck Reed. And the focus of the program was to establish a pro bono public-private partnership program modeled after the Civic Consulting Alliance based in Chicago, which had nearly 3 decades of success and impact on delivering pro bono programs. The context of the work was really daunting. 1 year, the city had undergone several years of cuts, layoffs, service reductions, a pension reform debate. I had no budget, a staff of 1, but I had the support and the buy-in of the chief of staff and the mayor. And the first week of work, I sat down with the chief of staff, and we outlined 4 categories. 1 being establishing an internal tiger team of city officials, of people who believed in this work and understand the importance of delivering impact for the people and the residents of the city of San Jose. This would include the city manager, the director of economic development, the director of HR, the city auditor's office, and several others. Through that team and through that work, it was identifying priority operational needs, things that we could respond to and get quick wins, things that would demonstrate value, but also demonstrate to the public that the city was being very thoughtful about the type of projects that we would engage pro bono talent. Part 3 was the launching of these 3 to 5 projects as demonstrations. Moved on later on from using the word demonstration because I don't really believe that's a start and a stop, right? These are continuous programs and need to evolve over time. We launched the programs. We'd recruit a bunch of companies and people in the region that wanted to give back and their time and their talent, and then we'd report back to the city in terms of our progress. I'll dive deeper into some of the results and some other things during the lunch, but I want to really focus on 2 things here. 1, we demonstrated enough value in the first year of the program, and I know some of you may also be beneficiaries of the Knight Foundation grants, but they were an instrumental partner in seed funding the Silicon Valley Talent Partnership with $1 million over 3 years. We had over 750 hours of pro bono time donated to the city through companies that are tech, management consulting, startups, and the Harvard Business School community partners. People were willing to give their time, which is even more precious than the dollars or the grant funds. 15 partners on 5 projects. Again, during lunch, I'm happy to talk through some of the examples of those successes and some of the failures. So the key takeaways here, engaging early, and specifically engaging early with the contracts office and the legal department related to how you organize the terms and conditions and MOUs for these programs, defining the problem, making clear that we know what we're doing, the failure piece. If it fails, it's okay. If you can find a way to cut that earlier on and walk away and say, we'll work on the next project together, even better. And a balance of top level and mid-level people that can work on this project from the internal and the external is really critical to seeing how we get this done. Flash forward briefly to the Startup in Residence program. After the mayor had ended his term in San Jose, I was recruited in San Francisco to expand the Startup in Residence program, which is a 16-week accelerator program model where startups come into government, co-develop solutions with agency partners to a specific challenge and a problem. The idea was, again, introduce a streamlined way that we can engage startups and the city in the program, making it easier for people to engage and work with the city, hack the procurement process a little bit so that we make this a competitive process rather than a hackathon, so that at the end of the program, there's an option to enter into a contract with the city department and agency, which speaks to a real need and a real project, as opposed to going through 2 years of procurement discussions and conversations in a normal kind of traditional RFP pattern. And engage a network of encouragers, internal as well, external as well. You can see there's a formula here of building off of some of the learning from San Jose. This is a few of the headlines that were captured as far as the progress and the work that we did. Some really great companies from around the world responded, some local to San Francisco. A couple that really, I think, they were very diligent in their understanding and willingness to co-develop and design these programs with community and with the city and with our team in the mayor's office. So these were the results of that program. It's since gone on. There's been a 3rd cohort. I think the piece of this that's most impressive is that we hacked the procurement process in a way that companies and the city were comfortable with, responsive to, and it ended up being that there were 15 contracts through the cohort that I led that were signed between the city and the startups. These are, again, a couple of the takeaways. I know I'm limited by how much time I have, but the key things here, and I want to just sort of highlight diversity on this, And that means being diligent and focused on the outreach that we do to every community, every entrepreneur in the community, at the neighborhood level, in the city, and to all those startups, minority women-owned businesses in particular, and factoring that into the programming and the strategy and the work that we do every day. So flash forward to today, or actually last week. Been in stealth mode for the last 6 months. The mayor's office and our team announced NYCX. And this is our Moonshot program and our attempt as the city to look around us and see the biggest challenges that we face as a city around climate, around broadband, around affordable housing, and issue moonshots. Seeking the boldest ideas, entrepreneurs, R&D teams from around the world to come to New York City and open up real estate assets, space in New York City as a place, as a proving ground for the R&D. Our city has issued our first challenge, which is focused on broadband at the Trust for Governors Island. Through a competitive process, 3 teams will be selected. Each will receive $25,000. Each will spend a month or so coming out at Trust for Governors Island, testing and learning, kind of responding to the constraints that we've set up around high speed, affordable, low cost, advanced wireless networks. And why we're doing this is that there's a lot of disruption in cities, right? And government has been slow to respond, all government, to the disruptions and the emerging and breakthrough tech that's taking place in our cities. What does it mean for the right-of-way? What does it mean for safety? What does it mean for privacy? This is our effort and our program to invite in industry, community, universities, and others to help us think through these challenges by experimenting in real time with these big moonshot challenges. These aren't simple answers, and so we know that we don't have all the answers inside government, and so we're reaching out in a comprehensive way to engage subject matter experts from tech, leaders in the industry to help us think through this work. That's our little moonshot, man. Kind of cutting ahead because I know we're running out of time. The final point that I want to make here is that while we've got these big moonshot programs that we're launching, we have a community-driven program that surfaces challenges from the neighborhood level. Brownsville in East New York is the first of those neighborhood collabs that we've developed. We launched 2 challenges last week, one focused on zero waste goals, and the other on improving nighttime safety in Brownsville. These are a sample of some of the locations that we'll be testing and opening up as part of our R&D work, where we're inviting in companies. And so looking forward, as I said, we're 6 months into this work. We've made some incredible strides. I think that it's safe to say that it takes a lot of people to pull off this type of work. It takes a lot of hustle. It takes a lot of resilience. And I think about it as all the time about in the 1860s when folks thought it was this brilliant idea to dig a hole in the earth, to lay down some tracks, put a train in it, cover it with dirt, and that people would actually ride around on the subway in New York City, right? And today it's taken for granted. It's something that we do on a daily basis. But if I ask you to think about for your city or for your company and the future that you'd like to realize, it's thinking about if we did this, what's our big, bold moonshot and how we get there. So that's my challenge to you. I'm looking forward to having more conversations about the work that we're doing. And thank you for your time.